You surely know the legend of the Bagman, but what if I told you he actually existed? A long time ago, the first stories about him began, and in every story there is a dark truth. In this video, you will see disturbing tales and terrifying facts about him. So turn off the lights, grab some popcorn, get closer to the screen, and good luck. You're going to need it. Have you ever heard of the Bagman? Maybe you heard the story as a child, whispered by parents or grandparents to keep you from wandering alone at night. A legend, a tale meant to scare little ones, or at least that's what many want to believe. But some stories refuse to disappear. Some stories are told because deep down they hold a fragment of truth. The Bagman does not scream. He does not run. There are no reports of violence, no traces of blood. He only waits, patient, moving through the shadows, a silent observer of the night. They say he chooses his victims carefully and that by the time you notice his presence, it's already too late. The story of the Bagman spans centuries. There are records of unexplained disappearances across various parts of the United States, always with eerily similar details. Children vanishing without a trace, unlocked doors in the middle of the night, footprints in the mud that suddenly disappear. He's mentioned in 19th century newspapers, where desperate mothers and fathers described a tall, thin figure hidden under a filthy burlap sack, always lurking on the outskirts of towns, watching, waiting. The elders say his origins go back even further. Some versions claim he was a cruel tax collector in the colonial era, dragging debtors away, never to be seen again. Others believe he was a hermit, rejected by society and transformed into something beyond human, condemned to live in the shadows, feeding on the fear of the unwary. But there is a darker, more disturbing version. Some say he is not a man, never was, that he has always been there, long before the first cities were built, an entity, a predator, something that hides in the darkness, taking on forms that terrify us, so we never doubt its existence. Imagine you're walking alone at night. The street is silent, with only the cold wind blowing through the corners, carrying with it a strange scent, a mix of damp earth, old wood, and something else. Something rotten. Your footsteps echo on the pavement, and for a moment you convince yourself you're alone. But then, something changes. There's no sound of footsteps behind you, yet you feel you're not alone anymore. The air feels heavier, and every shadow seems to stretch just a little longer than it should. Your instincts tell you something is wrong, but you ignore them. Just paranoia, right? And then you hear it, not a scream, not a growl, just a rustling sound, like a cloth sack being dragged across the ground. Your heart pounds. You quicken your pace. The sound continues, a dry, subtle scraping matching your rhythm. You don't dare look back. Every fiber of your being tells you that would be a mistake. But curiosity is a poison, and so you do what you should never do. You turn around. And he is there, tall, gaunt, wrapped in filthy rags, his face covered by a stained burlap sack with holes just big enough to reveal two dark spots where his eyes should be. But there are no eyes, only darkness. The Bagman himself is before you. He doesn't move, he only watches. You want to run, but your body doesn't respond. Fear locks your muscles, your brain struggles to process what it sees. The sack he carries on his back shifts. Something inside it writhes. A muffled whimper escapes from within, and then he takes a step forward. And you run. You run without looking back. Without thinking, just fleeing. Your heart pounding. Your lungs burning. You turn corners, stumble, fall, and get back up. And then silence. He is gone, Or so you want to believe. But when you get home, when you lock the door, when you hide in your room and try to convince yourself it was just your imagination, the rustling returns. Closer now. You keep your eyes closed, hoping it's just your imagination. But when you decide to open them, you find yourself face to face with him, and it's already too late. There are cases of disappearances that remain unexplained to this day, where those who vanished never returned. It's not just children who disappear. There are stories of adults vanishing without a trace, people last seen walking alone at night, near dark alleys or abandoned highways. Some believe he doesn't just take his victims, but keeps them inside his sack, forever conscious, forever lost. And there are those who claim to have escaped, but they were never the same. They become paranoid, avoid going out at night, live in constant fear. They don't talk about what they saw because they know that speaking of him invites him back. They say there are ways to protect yourself. Keep your doors locked, never walk alone, never answer if you hear your name called at night, and above all, never look back if you feel you're being followed. But the problem is, the bagman never forgets a face. And if he has chosen you, it doesn't matter where you are, one night, sooner or later, he will come for you. But what about you? How did you first hear about the legend of the bagman? Most people learn about him in childhood, when parents tell the story to encourage good behavior. Are you part of that generation too? If so, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video so the bagman doesn't come after you. Also, share this video with a friend so they lose sleep thinking about it tonight. Thank you for watching until the end. And remember, when you go to sleep, always check if you're truly alone. We never know what might be hiding under the bed or lurking in the corner when we're not looking. If you're afraid of the bagman, always ask yourself this question: was I a good person this year?